children. Where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women at the North all talking about rights, the white man will be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this here talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they talk about this thing in the head. What's this they call it? Intellect. That's it, honey. What's that got to do with women's rights or Negro rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full? When that little man in black there, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And now they is asking to do it. The men better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me. And now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more to say.
Well, hello to each and every one of you out there. My name is Matthew Long Jr., and I have the distinct honor and privilege of welcoming you to Project Ready TV right here on March the 9th. That's right, Tuesday, March the 9th in 2021. As you know, the Urban League of the Upstate have been having some great conversations and dialogues concerning things revolving around our community. And as a member of the Project Ready staff right here, one of the educational components, we wanted to talk about Women's History Month with all of our students and our families. So what better way to do that than to invite special guests from around the South Carolina area. And we have with us today none other than Miss Jazz Rosales, who is one of my favorites, as you can see on the camera, on the screen. If you don't mind, Jazz, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Excited to just chat with you. But Josh Rosales here. I am the owner of Just Another Season Productions, which is a digital marketing agency that bridges the gap between the English-speaking community and also the Spanish-speaking communities. The emphasis is on business owners and scaling their businesses, as well as the owner of Jazz Casting Agency, which actually recruits minority talent here within South Carolina and utilizes them to be able to promote these small businesses as well. There's a lot of other business ventures I'm in, but I am huge when it comes to community, education, growth, and I'm just an advocate, for women, for, just anybody that's just giving it their heart and just putting it out there, especially us women that sometimes of, brown and black, we have it probably a little bit difficult than the rest, but it's about working through it. And I don't believe in impossibilities if you just keep at it and keep persistent. So that's just my type of vibe.
Well, honestly, the truth of the matter is Dr. Angie Anderson Moton was supposed to host this, and we had some meeting conflicts. And rather than just pushing this off to later, I kind of stepped up and said, hey, I'll take care of this. on her behalf. So even though I'm not of that gender, from a male perspective, I'm honored to sit here and have this conversation with you, uh, sitting around the leading woman. You said you do so much, and that is not a lie. That is the absolute truth. Um, you have a casting agency. You
Mm-hmm.
do production work.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you do?
Marketing,
Marketing,
content writing. I mean,
content
you name
writing.
it.
You sing. You're a notary. You,
I act. Yeah.
you act. You've been in like all these shows. You do so much, so much. And are you? Let me ask this. I know. Are you at home?
I'm at work. I'm in one of my offices.
Okay, because
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, at any moment you can be anywhere
Anywhere.
at any
Yeah.
time. I say that because you are a leading woman. You're a leading woman of color.
Thank you.
Um, and I think it's very important and very fitting as we talk about Ain't I a Woman. Um, that poem by Sojourner Truth, controversial as its origins may be, but she hones in on some things that I think are very, very important to today's world. She talks about ain't I a woman? I eat as much as a man, and my arms are as strong as a man. Ain't I a woman? And I think about the things that you do and you have accomplished. Tell us, is there really a difference between the man and the woman? Should there be a difference? Is there what is equality for the woman?
That's a very, very, very strong question. I think that in the scheme of things, I am an advocate of hard work and dedication, and the ability to, regardless of the way that you look at, once you give it your 100%, you're capable of doing anything, right? Obviously, there are some distinctions between the capabilities of a man and the capabilities of a woman, strength wise, and all the physics that we have. But if we're talking about consistency, if we're talking about determination, if we talk about things that we are, the impossibilities that we have the standard on women versus men, I think that we can break that, right? Those are glass ceilings that we sometimes have, and perceptions based on how we were raised, how, things like that. But again, besides the physicalities, the biology, and everything else between that, I think that women are very capable to do a lot. And again, it's about heart. If you are passionate about it, you will go the miles you need to go. You will run the race that you need to race. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me, Jazz, one, you're too young. You're Hispanic. You have an accent. You don't know much about the business. You don't understand, how it really works, and blah, 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 right? All the objections that I possibly could have, that is very similar to any objections a male perception can have too. But again, the reason I think I find myself in the midst of community and so immersed in it is because regardless of the stigma, I tell people I'm trailblazing something. I'm paving ways to more people than I can ever imagine. And for me, that is a huge responsibility that I hold in my shoulders, right? I am a person who believes that if the opportunity is not provided to you because of all these excuses, of social excuses that I've just mentioned, then create those opportunities that you see, right? So I'm a gap filler. So I will work as much as I have to make sure that mission is, and that vision, it comes to fruition. Obviously, I do believe in mental health and keeping yourself, self-care and things like that. But again, it's not a distinction of male and female, what their capability is. It's more of how much heart are you willing to put in what you want to accomplish.
Wow, how much heart you put into what you want to accomplish. Sojourner Truth was oftentimes characterized as being this almost 6 foot woman, 6 foot tall woman. When we talk about the differences between a man and a woman, why do you think so many times we put emphasis on the appearance when it comes to women in the 21st century? And I say this because after the day, throughout the day, some young girl's going to watch this, some family's going to watch this, some member of our community around the world is going to watch this. Why do we put emphasis on the appearance factor? Again, for some reason they want to say she's a 6 foot woman, but 6 foot tall woman. But again, what you talked about, your heart, your capabilities, your character, producing things. Why is appearance always something that we like to hone into?
Again, we have been almost programmed to stereotypes, right? As we are raised, I think that that's just the mechanics that we have. The man is bigger, the man is stronger, the man is dominant, the man is the head, the man is all this, right? So we're programmed to have that. And then there's even the distinction between the race, the color, the whatever of the man, right? And then for a woman, again, we even have those stereotypes of a woman, which is better, which is taller, which is short, right? So again, I think we're so, our perception of people has always been, let me look at her and see if she is a good fit versus let me see what she's about in order to make that determination, right? So we're just, and I mean, we're just very blindsided and we see and we make those assumptions. So if I'm Hispanic, wow, she must have an empire, but she's probably selling something, right? She's probably this. Or you're Black and you're like, he's successful. There's something in there, right? So like we have this agenda, and it's happened before where you're in these positions and you move people, and again, it has nothing to do with the way that you look at the way you look like, right? It's again, it's just in a mediocre way of perceiving people and receiving them. It's very stereotypical. It's very ignorant to a certain, it's very ignorant. It really is. But again, it's about educating people of what we're really made out of.
Good answer. Good response. Let's continue the same vein. So we talked about the appearance factor, this whole image thing. Let's also talk about not only the image, the characteristics. So let's talk about using what you have, right? Sojourner Truth, the woman of this poem, went from being a woman who was a slave to a woman who found her freedom due to an abolitionist family paying for freedom, to becoming an itinerant preacher, an advocate, a mediator between ideas, and to the point she's an icon and she's invited to the White House. As we journey further into the 21st century, how do we, let me phrase that, how do women and young girls continue to raise their voice and use their influence, leverage their influence into the future?
That's another great question. Again, it's about educating ourselves, right? We as women need to be on top of our game all the time. Why? Because forget the factor of competition with anybody else. It's because we need to be, if we're going to be leaders, then we need to be led also. We need to be mentored, right? We need to soak it in. So I think the number one thing for us to be able to expand within our leadership, right? It's pretty much what the question is educating ourselves, changing the way people perceive leadership as a whole, as the women, right? What time do we wake up in the morning? What do we meditate enough? Do we, what is our daily routine? How are we keeping ourselves in check, right? And that will equivalent to the product that we want. So again, your connections are based on how you leverage all of that, right? Not every connection is viable. And there's sometimes that you have to just, keep your circle small and keep your mentorship small, right? And then there's others that you need to be around. You need to be inspired. You need to be motivated. And I think that is, if we change our mindsets and get out of this mediocre comfort zone that will intoxicate us and hold us back, then we're not able to break free from the power that we really, to showcase that power that we really do possess. So again, it's just nurturing ourselves in order for us to flow it out, and I think that we have to be better for ourselves, our family, and also those that follow us and that we influence.
You said to nurture ourselves. I think that's really interesting because women are oftentimes nurturing by nature.
Mm-hmm.
They're just nurturers. Talk to that girl, that woman, that man, myself. I'm learning as we're engaging in this conversation. Talk about how do we continue to push education and mentorship, not only for the adult, but for the teenager, for the young girl as well. And the reason I want to go this way is recently there was a bombshell of an interview um, about a member of a royal family, the royal family, and she talked about her experience going from a very productive leading woman into a different role where she didn't feel as free to continue in that same influence. How do we forge into the future again, a little bit more into the future, where there are barriers such as bias barriers. Let's get and put it out there. How do we deal with the education of that?
Okay. So education for me is visual, right? I think that, and I say this to say this. So in my, using my production hat, to educate somebody who has a opinion of some sort, right? Of feeling that, you've led so much and then almost feeling suppressed into your thing, right? There's no clear way to demonstrate, let's say, that type of feeling or that type of oppression unless you show it, right? So a lot of what I do is I'm a storyteller. And as a storyteller, what I do to frame my work is basically show them the circumstance, right? Show them that and have them look. It's like the short mini, I don't know if you've ever seen the short 30-second, 45-second clips, right? Of different influencers that tell a story. And then at the end, it makes you kind of like, oh my God, like this really is happening, right? You have to be open to being forward about, in a respectful way, of how you are feeling and demonstrate that. Have open dialogues wherever you have a forum to be able to speak on it. I just feel we've come to a place where we are not comfortable of speaking about it because we don't want to offend people or we don't want to this. I think you have to be vocal. Again, in a loving manner, but you have to step up to the plate and say, look, this is happening. This is how I feel. And this is the scenario, right? This is how I need you to see my perception. And then come to a place where we understand how each other perceive in order to educate, to move forward accordingly. But I think that when there's miscommunication, when someone just sits on their ground, doesn't want to change the way that they think, or, there's always going to be that pushback. But I think the number one thing is to understand the perception of the party who is feeling a certain way and shouldn't be crushed for feeling the way that she does, right? So again, we just need to start developing more avenues to be able to have these conversations and forums to be able to do that, and teach the community. I think that's how you do it. When you live by that example, you teach the community. And I've had many conversations with people that are outside of the Black and Brown, obviously, race, and they've been amazing, right? When their response is back. But sometimes we assume that they know something that they don't. So taking that assumption factor definitely, allows us to also have those conversations.
Wow. Well, I appreciate all that you have just poured out in the last 20 some minutes, 19 minutes. Thank you for your time. As we wrap up, let me just ask a couple questions. Do you have a mentor?
I do.
When was the first time you had a mentor?
Oh, I was young. I think it started probably around 18.
Okay.
18.
Okay.
I was really young. Yeah.
Right here at the Urban League of the Upstate, we have a mentorship program for all middle and high school students. And I would definitely be wrong if I did not take some time to encourage everyone to be a part of our mentorship program. Again, Jazz, you do so much. and to hear that you still have a mentor, I have a mentor. I believe you need a mentor for every aspect of your life. And I hope that is something we convey to all of our students, male and female. All right, last question, and I'm going to leave you alone. What book are you reading?
Right now, I'm reading the Four Agreements. For me, I think it's just, again, it goes into perception because we deal a lot with that, especially in my field of work. And it's just important for me to understand how people think, how they respond, why they believe the things that they believe, and just come from a place of understanding versus, okay, what am I going to say back to rebuttal? Right. So that's definitely a good book to read.
Wow. Well, thank you again so much for taking your time out. We know it's people's lunch breaks and we don't really want to take up your time. But again, follow the Urban League, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. Follow us, hit that notification button, and make sure that you subscribe so that you're always tuned in to whatever's coming. Hey, tonight Project Ready is going on college tours. I believe they're going to Clemson University tonight. So if you can, make sure that you go on eventbrite.com, search the Urban League of the Upstate, and be informed of all the great things that's happening. Well, as I like to say, wear a mask, wash your hands, and stay 6 feet apart. We'll see you next time. Bye.